Assalamualaikum everyone. I hope you are doing well. Welcome to another inspiring episode of Soul Talk with Rubania. I'm your host Rubania E-commerceWali, and today we are honored to welcome an incredible guest. The name is Jennifer. So Jennifer is an American author, speaker, educator, and Doula. So she's the author of the Song of My Heartbeat and the founder of Interwoven Therapeutic and contributing an other to the Guinness World Record holding book legacy in ink. So she's passionate about helping people heal emotionally, mentally, and physically while inspiring hope and resilience through her work. Today we will explore her journey, the lessons she has learned, and the practical ways we can all bring more healing, hope, and purpose into our lives. So Jennifer, thank you so much for joining us today. It is a pleasure to have you on Soul Talk with Rubania. So, hi, how are you?
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here as well. I thoroughly enjoy doing all of these, and it's wonderful to get to know all of you students that I've had the pleasure of doing these interviews with, and you as well.
Okay, thank you. So, Jennifer, my first question is that can you tell us about yourself and your journey?
Sure. Well, my name is Jennifer Stoudt. I was born and raised on the West Coast of the United States in Seattle, Washington area, and it gave me a really broad perspective of areas of Washington state. There's the eastern part of the state and the western part of the state, and they're very different. And I lived in both places for approximately the same amount of time. I was in eastern Washington until I was about 12, and then I moved to the Seattle area and lived there until 5 years ago when I moved here to Texas. So I've seen a lot of things in my growing up where we had a predominantly white community. It was about 60% white and then 40% Hispanic, and smackling of um, ethnicities in there as well.
Okay, thank you so much, Jennifer. My network is disconnecting, but thank you so much for sharing your introduction, and your journey was so amazing. And my next question is that what inspired you to become an author?
Well, I've always been interested in writing. When I was younger, that was how I worked through a lot of my uncomfortable teenage experiences. I dealt with some really, really heavy, hard things very young in my life, 3, 4, 5 years old, that got me into counseling a couple of times a week for a couple of years. And then I dealt with bullying. I dealt with peer pressure. I dealt with feeling like I was alone. I never felt like I had a belonging. I didn't feel like I belonged anywhere. Like I had acquaintances and I had a few friends, but there was a season in life where it felt like all of my friends had abandoned me, where I didn't feel like I had anyone. And I went through a pretty intense depression where I didn't know what to do with what I was feeling. I didn't know how to process the emotions that I was struggling with. And so I started to write. I wrote down poems. I journaled. I wrote songs. My dad gave me a guitar for my 16th birthday. And even though I was probably much better at it back then because I practiced way more, um, I would sit down and I would write music that just felt like the emotion I was struggling with right then. And then I would write down lyrics that matched it. And that was how I worked through that depressive season in my life where it felt like it's okay that I'm alone. It's okay that I feel isolated. I have the ability to use this opportunity to either retreat into myself and isolate myself, or I can use this to learn about myself, to get to know what I'm feeling, and to write out what I'm going through so that it doesn't stay stuck in me, but it can get down on paper. And then when I can see it, first of all, it's lost its power because I've acknowledged it, right? And then I've also had the ability to look at what I've written and then analyze what is emotion and what is truth, because those are not the same thing. We can feel something but not have it be reality. And so I was able to analyze some of those things around that, 15, 16, 17-year-old phase in life. And it really helped me to understand the power of writing, the power of storytelling, and the ability to draw connections through words that maybe face-to-face interactions just don't have the same ability to touch your heart as a book or as a poem or a song. And so that was my experience getting into writing. I always wanted to write a book, and then my children's book kind of fell into my lap. I feel like God just kind of just placed it right into my head and into my heart, because I had a really high fever. I was really sick with the flu when I had the idea come to me, and it was literally like I had downloaded a file. Like my brain, the story wasn't there, the concept wasn't there, but it was like as soon as God downloaded that file, I had the whole story and I could visualize the entire thing in an instant. So I wrote down as much as I could in my fever haze. And then when I was feeling better, I was able to come back to it and say, this could be something really special. Let's dive deeper. And it was a 2-year process to make my book, but I have it now. It's real. It's really got my name on it. And that was just the coolest thing to see, was my name on a book, and know that some of them were inspired by my own personal pictures, and some of them have been inspired by cultures around the world that have touched my heart, places I've gone, people I've seen. And so I wanted it to be a culturally inclusive book so that everyone can see themselves in it, but also understand, no matter what the cultural differences are, pregnancy is universal. Every pregnant woman can experience some of the same things. And there is a solidarity in that if we allow it. And it also can bring us closer to our partners. It can bring us closer to our existing kids. It can bring us closer to the life that we're growing if we allow it to. So that's what it's meant to be. It's meant to be a book that encourages the educational development of the baby while you're pregnant, the fetus development and all of those things, but also the bonding connection that happens through the development of the baby and mom's relationship. So
that's so amazing, Jennifer. Was so amazing. Thank you. And my next question is that what is the story behind your book, The Song of My Heartbeat?
well, the concept was that a baby and a mother have a unique relationship that no one else can have. When you are pregnant, the first thing that your baby senses is your heartbeat. That is the first sound or vibration that they experience. And that is so special. So no one else is going to hear what my heartbeat sounds like from the inside. From the inside of my body, my kids know what my heartbeat sounds like. That's just so cool. So it's really the song of the relationship between mom and baby in utero, and how, it didn't matter what I ate, the flavors and tastes came to you. You got to experience a taste of the outside life because of what I ate. Or you could sense the sun, you could sense light, even though you couldn't see it. And I was still protecting you from the outside world. So it's this conversation between mom and baby as baby develops. And I have a little Easter egg in the illustrations where it's not a literal Easter egg, but it's something to kind of search for and try to find, where I have the phrase "be still" on every illustration, because so much of motherhood is busy and stressful, and we just busy ourselves so much that I think we forget the power of being still, um, and being present with our babies and with ourselves, with our families, with our spouses, and just enjoying the moments, even if they're stressful, even if they're hard. Sometimes my daughter will just be crying and screaming because she wants something, and it's difficult that she doesn't want to go to bed. But I can look at her and say, "You are a gift from God. I prayed for you. I waited for you. I've had your name for 20 years, waiting to give it to a baby. And here you are, the fulfillment of that promise that was in my heart." And so, um, I really just want it to be a book that encourages people to connect with themselves, connect with their babies, connect with their own moms. Um, I have a client who purchased the book from me, and she happens to be Hispanic, and so she's first generation American, but her mom was born in their cultural country. I can't remember, unfortunately, off the top of my head where her mom is from, but there's a picture about labor and delivery where it's using a traditional rebozo, which is um, uh, um, a Mexican culture, Ecuador. Those are the places that often it's a cultural garment that they wear, but it also is used in labor and delivery and has now kind of been adopted by the Western culture as a tool in our own tool bags. And so I wanted that culture to be honored in the labor picture. So when she purchased the book and read it to her daughter, her mom happened to be there, and her daughter asked about, "What is that, mom?" And her mom didn't really know super well, but her mother did. And she was able to explain something about their culture because of my book. And I loved that experience, that I'm hoping that it bridges the gap between generations uh, in a really healing way, especially in a season where there's so much difficulty between parent and child. At least in America right now, there's a lot of adult children who are cutting off their parents and disconnecting from them. And and I hope that this kind of helps mend some of those wounds and maybe open some conversations and just reminds people that your mother is your mother, for good or bad. And even if they were a bad mom, hopefully you can find some kind of, but at least they gave me life. The first song I got to hear was their heartbeat, and that's a gift. Even if after I was born wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, I hope that there's an opportunity for healing through the book. Even though it's a children's book, it's not meant as an obvious thing to be that. It's more of a prayer of my heart that it can help in ways I don't understand.
Okay, that's amazing. That's really wonderful. And my next question is that what message do you hope readers take away from your book?
Well, I hope that people take away from my book that we can look different, we can experience things differently culturally, but we're all the same when it comes down to the most important things. We all have the same core emotions. We all have the same type of experiences that we have, even if the details are different. A hard childhood is going to create a hard adult. Unhealed people will hurt other people. These are universal experiences. And so it doesn't matter where you're from, what you look like, what your culture is, what your religion is. There are more things that we are similar than we are different. And if we can recognize those similarities, it's a whole lot harder to hate people. It's a whole lot harder to be mean and nasty to people if we can see the humanity of the person before we see the differences. So that's what I hope people come away feeling from the book.
Okay, that's nice. And my next question is that how did you become interested in massage therapy and holistic healing?
Yeah, massage therapy kind of fell in my lap. My mom was a school bus driver for many, many years, and she had chronic pain throughout her whole body. she drove for 30, 40 years. That's going to do some damage on your body over time. And so she would ask me to try to work on her toes and try to pop her toes, stretch her toes, but her feet just ached. And so that's what I would do. 14, 15, 16 years old, I would serve my mom by trying to relieve her pain as best I could with no knowledge, no skill. This is before YouTube was really a thing. I couldn't just go YouTube what to do. I just kind of had to feel things, see her response, and adapt based on that. And so my ability to feel with my hands and observe with my eyes really solidified a unique touch capacity that I feel that cultivated in me, where I can close my eyes and I'm sensing, what am I feeling with my hands as the tissue is releasing and letting go? What am I experiencing the motion like? And then what might that mean for their body? So I went to massage school several years after that. My mom really encouraged me that I was good at it, that I could really learn and be extremely good. And so she really encouraged me. My mom was my greatest encourager. We lost her about 2.5 years ago, and she is still the constant encourager in my head, just supporting me up from heaven. And so I met my husband, and we realized that we were wanting to get married, and we talked about what type of family balance situation we wanted. What do we want our life to look like? What was the future that we wanted to have, so we could be intentional about creating that? And I didn't want to be a 40-hour-a-week mom. I did not want to work 40 hours a week. I wanted my primary role to be wife and mother, and have something that keeps me fulfilled professionally, aside from my main job, which is my kids and my husband and my home. So I realized that's what I wanted to do. And just as soon as there was another session starting for school, I signed up, and it was a 3-week wait. And all right, let's get all these ducks in a row. About a year and a half, little under a year and a half later, I graduated. My husband and I got married the same year. And we've just continued with that intentional balance, so that I'm the primary caretaker for our kids, and he's primarily out of the house working. But you know, we have those overlaps and things, and loving people with wisdom to encourage me along into a career path that is, I mean, it's not even a job at this point. This is my passion. This is my ministry. This is my mission. This is where God has appointed me, in this place for this season, for these people with these skills. So I really feel quite blessed to have had the journey that I've had, even though it hasn't been easy. There's been a lot of hardship and difficulty and struggle and obstacles along the way, but I've continued to persevere through it. And every time I get knocked down, I get being knocked down, but learning from what knocked you down, so that you hopefully can avoid that again, but you can continue to get back up.
Oh, that's nice. And my next question is that what exciting project are you currently working on?
Yeah, I have a great exciting project. My husband and I have a commercial property that my husband, or my dad, bought in our town, and we're remodeling it so that I can have a larger facility for my clinic, and then that will allow me to have self-care classes, labor preparation classes, continuing education for other massage therapists, because I also teach continuing education to other therapists. So that's something really excited. I'm really looking forward to being able to move into the new space and start hosting those classes regularly and connecting with my community in a different kind of way. Um, and then I also have, another children's book in my head that I'm working on getting the illustrations figured out because I'm not an artist by skill. So I'm kind of teaching myself how to reposition the picture from my head to the paper because I don't really know how to do that, but I'm learning. Baby steps, little by little. Um, and then I also have more of an autobiography type of book that I've had some people encourage me. I need to start just writing down stories and things. So I've got a lot of projects, but not many of them are um, super intense right now. Really, it's getting the facility up and running is our biggest priority, and everything else has to be on the back burner until that happens.
Oh, that's nice. I really appreciate it. And nice. And my next question is that what advice would you give to uh, aspiring authors and speakers?
I would say find out what you're passionate about before you decide you want to speak, and then become well versed in that topic. One of the things my dad really drilled into us is know what you believe, but why you believe it. So much of the time we know what we believe, but we don't know why we believe it. And then it's really hard to speak from an educated perspective about a topic when you don't know the underlying root system of why. Um, and so know what you believe and why you believe it. And then make sure that you have the ability to play devil's advocate. If you can't have a conversation from both sides of an issue to figure out what the opposing perspectives might be, then you probably don't know the topic well enough. If you can't have that back and forth dialogue of, okay, well, this is my perspective. Okay, what would they possibly say against that? Okay, well, they might say this. Okay, well, if they said that, okay, what would my response be? Well, it would probably be this, that, or the other. And is that, a logical perspective? Is that an emotional argument? What is the argument route that I have? And then is that actually something that might change someone's mind? And so, being able to go trusted friend, I like to verbally process. So just having somebody that I can see while I'm talking helps me think. So sometimes I can get to the answer myself, but I just have to say it to you. So have people in your corner that you can have those dialogues with and have a lack of judgment, because writing requires vulnerability. And if you don't feel like you can trust being truly vulnerable with somebody and removing that mask that we put on of, oh, I'm fine, everything's fine, I'm totally fine. No, you have to be able to take that mask off and say, no, this is hard, this sucks, and I'm in a hard place. This is what's really going on with my heart. This is really what's going on with my body and mind. And this is me writing about it. Can I tell you what I have to say? That vulnerability is where intimacy comes from. Like, you feel closer to a friend, you feel closer to a spouse, you feel closer to a parent. Those are the things that truly bring intimacy into a relationship of any nature, is being truly yourself. And I think that's really what writing is being the most authentic version of yourself in a writing manner. So if you can't be vulnerable with somebody face to face, it's going to be really hard to get the feedback you need on paper.
Okay, that's amazing advice. And Jennifer, thank you so much for sharing your inspiring journey, valuable insights, and words of encouragement with us today. Thank you so much for joining us. And your dedication to healing education and empowering others reminds us that hope can grow even in life most difficult times. We truly appreciate your time and the wisdom you are shared with our audience. So thank you so much everyone who joined us for this episode of Podcast with Rubania. And if you enjoyed today's conversation, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss another inspiring interviews. So Thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining.
Thank you so much for having me. You have a great one day, rest of your wonderful day. Whew.
Thank you. So, thank you so much, everyone, for watching. Until next time, see you soon in the next episode. Allah Hafiz. Allah Hafiz. Bye bye, Jennifer.
Bye.